Thank you. How are you today?
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for joining me this evening. We're going to share with our friends here on my Facebook page um, this premiere launching of In the Community. And I wanted to take a moment to feature you, Kamilla, and to let our guests know that you are my International Women's Day Shiro. And we could talk about that a little bit more. So, Kamilla, tell us a little bit about how you and I got connected.
Oh, okay. So how we got connected. This was in the year 2000. I migrated from Trinidad to pick up residence here in New York by my sister, and it so happened that I ended up in Virginia by my aunt because I have a lot of family members in Virginia. And my cousin, she said, I know a really good family. They are also from our area in Trinidad, which is Diego Martin. I want to introduce you to them. And I said, awesome. And that was the day I met and made a lifelong friend, and which was you, Grace Walker. And it's beyond friend. It's more friend, mother, like mother. So that's what I can say. Just mother, someone who has always been there for me. Yes.
So I'll expand on that a little bit just to say, Kamilla and I grew up in Diego Martin, and she grew up down near the village, being near to the savannah, and I grew up near where the police station was, near to the mid area of Diego Martin, and we became pretty much attached at the hips during a time in my life when, for lack of a better word, I was caretaking with my mother, and I was trying to maintain a career at the time. And I needed to have an on-site person that was trusted, that I could rely on. And lo and behold, Kamilla was introduced to me. And like she said, she became the daughter who took over and attended to all of the family, not just my mother. And she provided the kind of nursing care where, in my career at the time, I had to do a lot of road traveling because I was in the insurance field. And so I needed to have someone who I could depend on and who the family felt really would care for my mother while I wasn't there. And Kamilla became that strength, support, and unconditional caregiver to my mother. And like I said to the rest of the family, she's a great cook. So that was a big deal for us. And she would cook these fabulous meals made just like you would want, your cook specialties coming from home.
Yes.
And so she is still our special treasure.
Yes.
So Kamilla not only brought that kindness and compassion and giving to our family, Kamilla went on after she left the Washington metropolitan area, after my mother died. Was it then that you left, Kamilla, or before that?
I left before that.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
I did.
Yes. Romance was in the air. That's right.
Yes, I met this really awesome guy, Raymond Bryan, who became my husband. And you were at my wedding.
I was the mother giver, yes.
the only family member to be at my wedding in Florida, Orlando, Florida, and you were there. You purchased my wedding dress, my wedding gown for
I
me.
did.
You did.
Okay.
You were the only family member, literally the only family member there for me at my wedding.
I treasured that moment so much. It was just my thanks to you.
Yes. And I think that's what make our relationship, such a beautiful, like real connected one, because here I am, I'm in this strange country, this new country, this big place. And, there's so many things going on, and, our paths cross, and, we just meshed, and we just like got together, me and your really large family, and, me just taking care of your mom, who I call Mommy because you call her Mommy. And, and it was with pleasure, it was with pleasure. I did it because I loved doing it. I enjoyed what I was doing. And as I'm saying this, I'm remembering her, I can see her face like in my head, she's just laying there and her hair is up in a little ponytail, a little one. And, I remember that so vividly because it was such an important time in my life, because I was transitioning from life in Trinidad and from leaving my family behind in London as well, and setting up a new life here in America. And your family was the very first family I met, when I came here. So, and that was just a beautiful lifelong meeting. Yeah.
And Kamilla, what I think is so remarkable about you and your industrious pursuits is that you chose a path, a career path that somehow paralleled the experience that we shared with you being such a complete caregiver. And I am so, I really feel like I have this daughter that I am so proud of, because you are such an example. Kamilla, tell us about the career that you have now pursued and how you got that career.
So I'll just go back a little bit into my childhood. So my father, deceased, Agard, every Christmas he bought me a doctor's kit. Like literally every year he brought me a doctor's kit. And him and I, we didn't have the greatest relationship in terms of being close, because him and my mom, they were no longer together. But I saw him every day. And I guess this was his way of telling me, like, I have this big dream for you, this big vision for you to, to become a medical professional or to become a doctor. And that was his way of saying it by purchasing this doctor's kit every year for Christmas. So that was my very first introduction into science, into medicine. And I remember, I was like the little village, in our community there. I was like the little doctor, because I had my stethoscope, I had my little bag, and I would practice on the children. And it just it just created a desire in me, that maybe this is, it just became like your dad give you something and you just accepted it, and it just became you. And I think that's what it was. That's what did it. So that was my father's doing. My mother, on the other hand, she liked doing charity works, but she never liked doing it for herself. So she would always put money in an envelope, and she would say to me, who is the poorest family in the area? And in my mind, I'm like, well, we are. What are you talking about? Like, we are, But to her, she didn't consider us the poorest family. And she was absolutely right. There were other people who were less fortunate than we were. And she would put whatever little money in that envelope, and she would seal it. And she said, don't open it. take it and give it to the poorest family. And that is exactly what I did. And then it became, okay, go to such and such house and help them take care of their mother, or and this is true things, you know, take care of that one, or go help your cousin with her barbecue, and don't take $1. Do not take $1. So I'm looking at her, I'm a teenager, and I'm saying to myself, what do you mean don't take anything? You know, but that is how she was instilling in me this caring nature, you know, of giving back to others, you know, who are less fortunate, and not doing it to receive something, you know, but to just feel good about helping another person. And I loved my mother so dearly that I obeyed, you know, her request. So I had my dad on one side, I had my mom on one side, and I think that is what like created a desire in me to help and be very caring, yes, to others. And it just led me down that path of, you know, I lived in London for a little while. I wanted to become a lawyer, and then I'm like, forget about that. I came to New York. I pursued a paralegal's degree at Hunter College. I did that. Then I thought it was boring. I don't want to do that anymore. I got to Kingsborough Community College, where I did mental health and human services, because I figure I wanted to work with disability and mental health. And the degree was just an associate's degree. So now I'm thinking I need to do something major where I can make this impact. And, you know, while I'm going through all of this, my brother, deceased brother, who died at the age of 20, I think 19 years old, he died. He was murdered in Trinidad, and him and I, we were very close. And, you know, so I'm doing all these, you know, things to set myself up. And I'm just thinking about him and how I have to get on this path to help other people, to help teenagers, to help young people, you know. And that's how I said, you know what, I'm going to do nursing. I'm getting into nursing. And I just got up one day and I went to the college and I signed up, and that was it. And I did it. I got my bachelor's of nursing at Long Island University. And that was a rough time, because, you know, I was going through a divorce as well. And, you know, life was becoming new on my own, because now I'm going through a divorce. You know, I've always had Raymond by my side, and now, you know, him and I, we were separating, and now I had to live this life all independently by myself in New York. I didn't know how to pay bills. I didn't manage the money, you know, in the marriage. And yeah, it was a reality shock. And there are many times I cried, and, you know, I wanted to give up. And I said, you know what, no, if there was any way to give up, it would have been perhaps in Trinidad, but not in New York, you know, not in New York. And I'll tell you something, when I was coming into New York in November 2000, I saw the Statue of Liberty. And I never knew the meaning of the Statue of Liberty. I never knew the words and the meaning of it. But just the image of it and and the symbolism that this was New York. You know that if you're seeing the Statue of Liberty, you know that you're in New York City. Mm-hmm. And that just resonated, such a joy. And like within myself, I knew that good things would happen. Good things were in store. And, you know, I held on to that, you know, to that initial feeling, you know, when I first came to New York, you know, that, you know, that hope that I felt that things would be fine. And that is what carried me through, you know, to my bachelor's. I did that. I was successful at that. It was challenging. I did it. I learned to manage my finances. Right? I learned to navigate all the bills and everything, you know. I learned to drive. I learned to set up, you know, my retirement, you know, and I have my 2 children, Christina. Kidal obviously went off to Canada, you know, he just loved Canada there. And, you know, it's just Christina and I here. And I would say that I just finished my master's in nursing, you know, to do higher level care, you know. Yes.
Kamilla, what I want to say
Yes.
is that you have demonstrated to so many of us here, not only just us as adults, but to our future generations, that you can achieve and become, successful at anything that you put your mind to. I saw your determination, and not so much that I saw it being there with you in New York, but often you would call me and you would tell me what your latest achievement was. And I would be just awed because I know what it took for you to get there, and that you didn't allow circumstance, you didn't allow where you came from, you didn't allow roadblocks along the way to detour you from pursuing the path that you have been so generously afforded. And so, Kamilla, what I'd like to do at this point is, I just want to say, first of all, thank you so much for the service that you have been providing to so many now, especially during this very, very critical period of time, during this COVID climate, that you and so many other heroes like yourself have given of yourselves with more than just compassion, but with personhood. And I want to congratulate you on this forum here today, coming from the place of being allowed to just share in mothering you through this path, even though not, biologically so, but being so proud of what you've achieved. So I'm going to let this part of our interaction, we will follow up independently, and I will post that on my YouTube channel, which is at your request services. But Kamilla, let's talk a little bit more, and thank you so much again for your great service to all communities and for what you've shown to many in my family of younger ones, that there is no limit to possibilities when you are focused and determined to be that full woman that you're meant to be. So thank you, Kamilla, and let's talk a little bit longer.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. I think we just had a very engaging chat. It almost seems, no-brainer to want to even continue, because you gave us such a wonderful, expansive, in a very brief moment,
Yes.
expansive idea of what you do and where you are now. Now that you have your master's, or you've finished your master's, you started studying professionally.
Yes.
At what age?
So I did my GED when I was 25. That's my GED. I did that at 25. At 26, that's when I started my college career. And I started off at Kingsborough Community College. I know, which at the time I didn't care that it was a community college. I was just happy that I was getting into a college, because that was something that seemed so far-fetched, so far and beyond, because in Trinidad, there's just this one university, the University of the West Indies, and it doesn't seem like it's attainable for many of us, so for me to even get to Kingsborough Community College, that was just stellar for me. I was just ecstatic. I was excited. So yeah.
Tell us where's Kingsborough community college?
Hillsborough is on in Sheepshead Bay side of Brooklyn. That's near Emmons Avenue in the back there by Belt Parkway.
Okay, so we're talking Brooklyn, New York now.
Yeah, so Brooklyn, New York, yes.
Great, great. Again, in those few sentences, you have shared enormous possibility. So let me ask you to continue. So after you finished with your GED, you then went into community college, and you did. What were the subjects that you pursued first?
Well, what I pursued, because of the loss of my brother, I figured that, I had this fascination where I wanted to understand the way people think, the way they operate, what make people do the things that they do, more on a psychological level. So I had a fascination with that. And I decided, you know what, I think I'm going to become a psychologist. So I picked up, well, initially you do all of your math, your Englishes, your writing, history. And then I got into the human services, where I started getting into the subjects like psychology, psychology 1, psychology 2, mental health, all of the developmental classes that we would have to do, human anatomy 1, 2. So all of those classes that led to that degree. Substance abuse, different disorders, OCD, schizophrenia, bipolar, suicide, depression, so from childhood straight to old age. Those were the courses.
And so again, Kamilla, what I am drawing from you, and what I'm hoping that for my own grandkids now, and others who are in that between and betwixt, I'm not sure if I want to, especially now with COVID and schooling and Zoom and all of this, we have a lot of distraught individuals.
Yes.
Adults and children.
Yes.
But I think the impact on children especially has been quite devastating.
Yes.
What have you seen and experienced in your field with regard to this anomaly of life that is occurring now under COVID, and the health of children and families especially?
Right. So I do my daily work out of the emergency department in Long Island. And we're not like a children's hospital. So the children who comes there, it could be from any age group. It's based on emergencies. But I'll tell you a very recent experience I have had was with this young girl, and she's 15 years old, and she's doing the homeschooling thing, and she's becoming so overwhelmed that, because there are no outlets, because she's in the home and she's with everyone else, because everyone else is in the home and there's nowhere else for her to blow off her steam, or just to be herself, her own self, that she doesn't want to show her family, so she no longer had that. And so now everything is in the home, and it created this clash between her and the mother. So her and the mom, they kept like butting heads. And as a result, she started thinking suicidal thoughts, that this is too much, it's too overwhelming, my life is over, and I just want to end this. I just want to hurt myself. I want to be done. And I remember asking her, like, do you pray? And she said to me in the most honest way, no. And at that point, like, my heart on the inside dropped, because I understand, from a child's perspective, being that age and feeling stressed out and hurt and unhappy, not because, even for me being that age, my problems weren't, I can't go to the movies. It was just, there's no food to eat. There are no clothing. We have no shoes. We may not be able to go to school this week because there's no money for transportation, because, you know, the school is like an hour away, you know. So that's where my frustration came from at that age. And so even though our frustrations were different, you know, prayer was my escape. Even at 15 years old, like, I knew, like, God, you got to help me. You have to get me out of this, you know. And even if it was the Our Father, that's what I did. That's what I said. And she didn't have that. And that hurt me, like it ripped me on the inside, because this one thing that could have given her so much strength, she didn't have that. And that just pushed me to just go into like a therapy mode and a therapy session with her. And I told her, you know, it's going to get better. This is not the end all. You can't see it yet, but I promise you, it's there. You know, so you have to hold fast to believing, and you have to have that hope that things will be better. You know, don't just chicken out. Don't give up so easily. You know, this is your life. Despite what's going on between you and your mom, this is your life and it's precious. And I think I made a connection with her because, you know, I was like this close with her because I just like brought her in, you know, because I felt her pain. And even for me being a mom, you know, Christina is 16 years old. She's going through similar feelings and emotions too, because her life was turned upside down as well, you know, and it's hard. You know, people are coming into the hospitals, they're more stressed out. You know, any little thing they feel, they're paranoid, they think that it's COVID, you know, and they're just flocking the hospitals. People ready to have their lives back, you know, so psychologically, it's a burden, you know, to continue to keep washing your hands or remembering to put on the mask or remembering to stay 6 feet apart. Like it's weighing them down and they're just ready to break free.
I'm sure it's taken an exhaustive toll on you too. How have you been taking care of yourself, Kamilla?
How have I? Well, I'll tell you. Zinc. You know, you know, so, you know, my job, they have afforded us with proper PPEs and gloves and you know, and goggles and everything, you know, but for me, my ritual is I take my vitamin C, I take my zinc, I take my, what else I take? A multivitamin, I pop an aspirin, I drink water, and I just hope and pray to God that my system, my immune system can withstand it. Because in the emergency department, I'm often in triage. So I'm always like triaging patients. I'm always very close with patients. So I just have to do it. I just have to do it. It's very inhumane to see someone huffing and puffing and they're on their, wouldn't say last breath, but they feel like they're on their last breath and they look like it. And because of your fear for COVID, you don't intervene. You know, that's very inhumane. And therefore, as a nurse, you have to intervene. You just like intervene. You don't even think, you know. And I always say to myself, if I were a nurse back in maybe 200 years ago, or back in that time of Florence Nightingale, I probably would have died from some extreme disease or something, because I just go into action. Sometimes I'm not even wearing my gloves. I just jump in and just, you know, just resuscitate and stabilize and, you know, just get the job done. You know, so yeah, that's how I take care of myself, you know, but still being mindful.
Yeah. And Kamilla, that's why I said that it's so heroic.
Yes.
Because oftentimes we think of you guys being, you know, doctors, nurses in this profession. But what you are just saying there is a reality that some of us who are living in our own little bubbles have become so insulated that we're afraid to even be in each other's company.
Yes.
Because we've put all of these guards up.
Yes.
And here you are facing this head on, in your face, and your willingness to surrender some of your own insularity to be humane. I mean, that is just, I can't say, it's like God sent you guys as angels, that God gave nurses and doctors and healthcare providers the wings to carry all of these individuals in these circumstances, much more dire than we can imagine.
Yes.
That sense of humanness. What a remarkable way to.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what, I like one day, I was at the doorway of a patient, and I'm looking at this patient, a COVID patient, and I'm saying to myself, this is such a selfless act, to just walk into that room knowing that this patient is COVID positive, because we know the signs and symptoms, knowing that this is, what's going on with them. And you're not even afraid, but you're trusting that the gown that Dave said wear, it will protect you. You're trusting that your goggles will protect you. You're trusting that your face mask will protect you. And even though you get dressed up in all of that, you still have to make that first step in that room and get at that bedside. There's no, and this is so profound what I'm going to say here. There is no 6 feet distance when you're taking care of a patient.
Exactly.
You get the opportunity to be 6 feet apart. I don't get that. I have to get up close and personal, to put on, a nasal cannula, to put that patient on oxygen, to get their hands and put that pulse ox on, or, to even try to get blood, put an IV line and get that blood and, do a rectal temperature. Like, I am not 6 feet apart from this person. I am not taking care of them with a pole. I am this close. And am I thinking about catching COVID at that point? No. All I'm thinking about, this is my patient, and you're not gonna die today. And I always make this joke with my patients. You see that bright light, that very bright light that they say, come. I say, stay away from that light. It's a deceptive light. Don't go. And believe it or not, like, so many of them will chuckle and they'll laugh and they say that's the funniest thing, but a big part of my career too is humor.
Right.
So I use humor a lot, to
navigate this very, I mean, I am so glad that I chose to have our discussion, and it was as though, somewhere along the way I've been trying to course how I want to take this project. And I think you've known me long enough to know that I've always, been attempting projects.
Yeah.
And this project to me has been more about, what is it that I enjoy most? I enjoy this level of communication, contact. And I wanted to make the platform accessible and also reciprocal, in terms of, there's so many people in our communities, and I'll kind of do a flashback about the cooking.
Yes.
And there are people who are doing that cooking, and they cook with passion and delight, the same passion and delight that you're sharing in a field that one could be traumatized in.
Yes.
And so I feel that what has happened with COVID and all of the virtual connecting that we've had to rely on, we have an opportunity to share about each other.
Yes.
To say thanks to each other, especially.
Yes.
To give regard to those who are doing the things that we may take for granted. And so what I do is I try to celebrate not just people who I've worked with, like people who in our community, there are people who do some of the more unique things like baking, like cooking food. And you know me and food, how I get to be quite a foodie, especially if it's Caribbean and well-made food. And I feel that's how you share. And everyone has an opportunity to not just, I'm not using the process of monetizing, but everyone has a product or a service that can be shared with someone. And hopefully, if I can offer a conduit for them to know that, hey, this person does great flowers. If you're looking for that type of arrangement, and I mean within my local community, here's someone I know. And this is how this platform was birthed.
Right.
When I saw, this was why I thought of you. I saw that you were studying and you posted it. And I said, how remarkable again, how remarkable. And we don't talk every day. We don't even talk sometimes for a whole year.
Yeah, that is true.
And I was so, again, appreciative when you called,
Mm-hmm.
when Vicky passed, because you are family.
Yeah.
And you were so concerned and asking me how I was doing and how was the family doing, because you were there for the journey. Not only did you were you there to give Mammy her wings, help Mammy gain her wings. You were there when my brother Michael also passed a couple of years after from pancreatic cancer. How is your daughter? Tell us a little bit about your dear daughter.
How is my daughter? That's my Gemini. Gemini. She's a twin. The Gemini side. My daughter Christina. She is the apple of my eye at times.
And the bane of your existence, right?
And there are times when I want to disown her, but I can't disown her, but she has been my constant. She has been my constant. She's been here with me. She has gone through, the ups and downs and the lefts and the rights with me. And even her, she exudes her own strength as well, because even through it all, she never crumbled. She never crumbled. She just held on, and she's like, Mom, we're gonna get through this, so we're there for each other, and she's there for me. And of course, she's a teenager and she's a girl, so obviously there are times she'll think that I'm wrecking her life and I don't want her to live, because she doesn't quite understand the world that she lives in. But nonetheless, she wants to navigate the world that she lives in.
Yeah.
But there are structures, that we have to go by and we have to be placed in. Mm-hmm. But she's doing well. She's turning 17 this year. She goes to a parochial school there. Her passion is archaeology. I don't know how this happened, but and I said, not a doctor? She's like, no. I'm like, what about a nurse? You could do nurses. And she's like, no, Mom. She's like, I just really, she has a passion for history. She loves history. She loves old things. She likes knowing about people who died and, their bibliography and, how they lived and, things that happened in the ancient times. So that's her pursuit. So hopefully she'll do her archaeology. She's afraid of spiders. She's afraid of a roach. I don't know how she's going to go through those little holes, to do her excavating, but I guess that would be something for her to overcome, which is good to have things to overcome.
With as fine an example as she has before her, I'm assured that she's going to fulfill whatever her pursuits are, be it archaeology or change along the way and go to, the dream changes. We know that along the way, and you find where you best, you find where you can reach that niche of life and passion. They intersect, and you kind of course through that. So Kamilla, let's take this time again for me to say thank you. Thank you for everything from way back when till now. But more importantly, that selfless giving that you're doing in the field that really has become the most powerful gift that anyone can give to each other is kindness. And to be in the field that you're in now during this time, what an experience it is, and a legacy of not where you were in Diego Martin. What street was it that you lived?
Mason Street.
You were at Mason and I was at Walker Street. Within what, 5 minutes walking distance. Here you are. I say that because someone said to me recently, Grace, I have to say, for a 65-year-old, you have come all the way from Diego Martin down the village to where you are now. And you really appreciate this journey. And so Kamilla, again, I want to say I love you so much. Continue to do the exceptional things that you're doing, because I can show this now to my granddaughters and say, and what's your excuse? You tell me what? You've been born here. You've got everything at your fingertips. And to many others, that's the inspiration that I think, that I know that you offer. And so thank you so much. Thanks for allowing me this wonderful opportunity to do this exchange with you.
Pleasure. It's all mine, Grace. All mine.
Continued growth, success, and adventures.
Yes.
Because you never stop the adventures, so do not ever stop.
No,
Continue the adventures.
No.
Thank you, Mills.
Oh, you're so welcome. But before we go, I'd like to say something. I'd like to say that having a desire is the most important thing. You have to wake up with a desire. And once you have that desire will propel you, and it's going to create the energy that you need to accomplish your thing. That thing that you need to accomplish. But without the desire, it's like you're just getting up and you're just going through the motion of nothing. It's create a desire of something and want it and want to see it come into fruition. And that's where the energy and the drive and the sacrifices and you know what I have to do, that's where it will come from. That desire.
That is the best offering, again, like I said, to so many. It's to so many who eventually are going to see this video and they're going to go, oh, that was a video with Grace and Kamilla, but they're going to hear these jewels, these gems, and that's going to be the takeaway. So I appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.